Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R.Keith. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on June 6, 2021 at approximately 9:18 p.m. PST. Well, it's been a very eventful day today. Had a rather intense conversation with my own son. And, we'll get back to the first issue, which really boils down to it is time right now, right this moment, for people to realize that together we can put this world back on proper track. Proper track being no war, no famine, no greed. Now, we are talking about a problem that is going to take generations to solve. Therefore, everybody right this moment that is listening to this video, that is listening to any video, you are all, no matter what walk of life or what race, what gender, any of it, you're all in exactly the same boat. You're starting from exactly where you are at this moment. The question is, are you happy with the way your world is going? Take everything outside and just totally ignore the rest of the world for a moment. Are you content with your world? If the answer is yes, you are, then, well, more power to you. You're better off than I am. If your answer is no, then it is time to really take a look at your world. Don't worry about what it may look like in 10 years. Look at what it looks like right this moment. Because the reality is, in 10 years, you may be looking at a different world altogether. But even in 10 years, you can only do something to change the world at that moment. We talk about past, present, and future. Well, regardless of what you think about past or present or future, you cannot do anything in any of them except in the present. So it's right here, right now, that it's time to look in the mirror and go, okay, where am I standing? Am I content with the way my world is? If the answer is no, pick one thing that you're not content with in your life right this moment. It's not a big job. Okay, and it can't be that complicated because virtually everybody has something they don't like. Like, maybe you're not content where your coffee cup is sitting. Well, nice part about that is if you don't like where your coffee cup is sitting, you can pick it up and move it. Now, of course, you can't change the fact that you just moved the coffee cup. Okay, you can put it back, but you cannot change the fact that you took it in the first place. This is what I mean by you cannot undo that which is already done. But if you make a change that you're not content with, okay, people are told quite consistently change is frightening, change is scary, change is difficult. Well, the fact you're listening to me is amazing in itself, but every time I say something, your inner ear changes to accommodate that new sound coming in. Okay, now hopefully your hearing doesn't cause you pain. But take a look at this batch of toothpicks. If I don't like it here, I can move it over to this hand. Or I can put it down over here. Right? Change. No pain. Okay. Now there are always exceptions to every rule. So somebody may have trouble moving. Now some of you, I have no doubt, do. I lucked out in a way. I've got a bad leg, but the reality is I did not develop cancer in the process. Okay, because of that, I still got a bad leg. That hasn't altered. Mind you, I used to be almost blind, and I have managed to remove most of that problem. One day, I will undoubtedly cure the eyesight altogether. But that's because I don't believe that I have to stay blind. Eye doctors are lost on that one. They still can't figure out how just deciding you don't want to be blind is a nice way to solve problems. But it starts with a decision. All things, all change starts with a choice. And it happens on the etheric plane. From the etheric plane, it comes into the emotional side of the mind. There develops an emotional imperative that I've got to do this. I feel compelled to go and do this. Then your logical brain goes, okay, your heart's telling you you desire that. The emotion says, this is what I desire. So your logical brain kicks in and goes, how am I going to go about doing that? And develops a plan. Then you have to get up off your tail feathers and physically implement the plan. Net result, you get changes. Okay, now one of the many books I'm writing is a book on success, on the actual keys to success. Okay, and there really are only 4. You've got to have a purpose. Why are you changing? Who are you changing for? Are you changing for you, or are you changing for somebody else? I'll tell you right now, if you're changing for somebody else, you may run into problems. You'll have challenges even if you're changing for you. But once you've got that in your mind, this is what I desire to change. Then you have to come up with a plan. Okay, a step-by-step method of altering what you've been doing to begin doing something else. Average time that I've discovered to change, to either break a habit or create one, is 21 days. Okay, so once you've got the plan in place, now you've got to have the persistence to carry through that plan. Every step, and that's where that list that I keep putting here, that's where this list comes in handy. You put a list together and you start off with only 3 things on it. Okay, just 3. Okay, then you go through it and you've got to develop persistence to make the changes one step at a time. Then you have to have patience. Okay, and the patience side of it is very simple. You got to realize it did not take you, it was not likely overnight that things changed for you. Now, there are exceptions. A sudden severe illness, an accident, these things can cause an overnight shift. But most of the time, a shift is done very, very methodically, very one step at a time. Okay, so you've got to have a purpose, a plan, persistence, and patience. Okay, now, am I perfect? Absolutely not. Okay, when I started this year out, I got a lot of money from my own parents' estate. Okay, I did correct part of the problem. I wiped out all my debts. Problem I didn't correct was my thinking. And that is something that I am suspecting at this point will likely take me a couple of months to get corrected completely. So I'm a little behind, and some people are going to be upset, but none of them are going to be half as upset as I am. Okay, but the only person I can be upset with is me. Okay, I am the only one, and you are the only one that can be successful for you. The tools I'm giving you are the same tools that I personally use. Okay, now, when, I bill myself as a spiritual guide. Okay, I am a working professional psychic, and I hate the term. Okay, it has way too many negative connotations. The best way I heard it put was by one mentor I had. He goes, you're better off referring to yourself and to anybody with so-called psychic ability as a sensitive or a super sensitive, because what we do is we pick up what other people are going through. We pick up the emanations and the energy patterns that direct things. Okay. We tend to pick them up a little better than most people do. Now, everybody's got the capacity to pick them up. But starting at about age 4 to 5, most kids are told, and you may well be one of these kids that was told it, or you may be one of the parents that now tell your own kids, they hit 5 years old, they talk about seeing grandma walking down the hallway. Well, that's a wonderful imagination, son. Now, let's get on with real life. Well, reality is that these other energies do exist. Whether people want to acknowledge them or not is not the relative point. But I do find it fascinating the number of people that believe in God, that believe in Allah, that believe in any number of things that you can't see, and yet they won't believe that somebody can sense these. Okay. It's like, even in the UFO field where I work, the other field that I work on is with UFOs, with alien races, alien technologies, ancient races. Okay. Even people in those fields will tell you, oh, I study this all the time, I believe in it. But unfortunately, what happens is way too often, somebody will go to even somebody in that field and go, I think I was abducted. And they'll go, oh, you're just imagining it. You were seeing, you weren't understanding what you were looking at. Well, to be clear, if you're looking at something and you're calling it a UFO, well, guess what? It's an unidentified flying object. You don't recognize it, it's unidentified. It's that simple. Okay. But people that are, people that claim to believe in psychic ability, and yet they have this brilliant idea that, oh, you can't be psychic. I'm a psychic, and I know you can't be psychic because, I'm not feeling it. Well, guess what? You're not the only person on the planet. But what I can tell you is everybody has the same abilities. We are all born with the same potential. No, that's not entirely correct. We're all born with the same potential in our spirit, in our soul, if you will. But the physical body does not always cooperate. Like, the odds of my ever running a marathon are slim to non-existent, unless I want to run a three-legged race and use my cane. And I'm just not that interested in it. Okay, so what we're looking at... Where is it? Yeah, I'm looking away from it and then looking. I'll be right back, I think. Yeah. I keep talking about a cane, so I'm going to show you something here. Yeah, the reality is I've got a bad leg. This cane I actually had built for me. This is custom made. And the gentleman that made it actually hand carved it so that it will fit my hand. Okay, I had to get to the point that, I just cannot, I'm not willing to deal with the problem anymore. So I'll get something done about it. Apparently gravity works. So I figured I'd get something done about it and got it built. Now, the reality of it is this. If you're not content with something in your life, I've had some people I've talked to, I don't like being referred to as handicapped. Well, guess what? Like I told them, if you're playing golf and you're not as good as the person you're playing against, they call it giving you a handicap, okay? In other words, you're not as good, you're not as capable, so we're going to spot you a couple of extra points, okay? Whether you like the term handicapped or not is really kind of irrelevant. If you don't like the fact that you're missing an arm, well, it's unfortunate, but you're still missing the arm. Okay. I don't like the fact I'm wearing glasses, so I'm doing something about it, and I'm healing the eyes. Eventually, I will get to the point where the doctor will look at my eyesight and go, you don't require glasses anymore. Okay, that ultimately is one of the things I'm personally working on. But considering I used to be almost blind to the point of I couldn't physically see my glasses right there, and now I've got 20/20 eyesight for reading, frankly, I'm not worried about it. But when we take a look at our own world, at the world, at you yourself, take a look at what's in your life, the way you're looking at the world, the way you're interacting with the world. Decide, are you content with the way you are behaving? Are you content with the way you're being treated as a side effect of the way you're behaving? If the answer is yes, then you're probably not listening to me. Okay, if the answer is no, pick one thing about your world that you're not content with and make a change. That is the key to making your world better. You eliminate all the negative things in your life, and all you will be left with is a world you're content with. Now, if you're more content with your world, then when you go outside of your home, when you go outside of your body and you start dealing with your own family, with your own friends, when they do something off kilter, you'll be better equipped to deal with them. In net result, you'll treat them better. They will have a better day. They'll go home, they'll treat their people, they'll deal with other people and treat them better. By doing this, we have a ripple effect that eventually will cover the world. And my personal goal is to get this message out to everybody. Whether they are on the internet or whether they're people that talk to people that are on the internet, it doesn't matter. All people on this planet are equal. And when I mean people, I mean literally every race, every gender, every corporeal entity. Okay, every physical entity is of equal value. Okay, so give us a thumbs up on the video. Okay, subscribe to our channel so you can look at the rest of the videos as they come out. And remember to tag the bell so that the system actually warns you it's coming. Okay, I'm not personally certain how that works, and I keep getting told there's a bell there, and I've seen it once in a while. My understanding is there's a bell somewhere on the YouTube videos where you can go tag, and it'll ring when the newest ones come in. Okay, that said, do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it. It is way overdue time for us to work together as, as denizens of the same planet, the first world. This idea of first world countries and third world countries, throw the thing out. Okay, yes, some countries have better technology. Okay, other countries have better social skills. And rest assured, I'm not the one to talk to about, shall we say, the most politically correct approach. But I will tell you that when we treat each other as we ourselves desire to be treated, okay, we will find this world is a whole lot more congenial. And talk to anybody that has worked in an emergency situation. Okay, and there aren't that many that fall into this category, but talk to the ones that have worked in an emergency situation in a quiet zone, and the ones as compared to working in a fire zone, where there's gunfire going on. I'll tell you, it's easier to repair somebody in an operating room if you're not ducking bombs. If you're not ducking bullets. It's easier to build, and this is a little bit on the other end. If you're trying to build a Lego model, like little Lego blocks, if you're trying to put them together, it's easier to concentrate and put them together. If you're not worried about, about trying to maintain balance in the middle of a firefight or in the middle of an earthquake or a tornado, it's just easier. Okay, myself, I'm also a professional writer. And I tell you, it's far easier to write if things are quiet around me. And the reality is there is not a time when superior firepower has brought peace. It's brought quiet. But quiet and peace are not the same thing. Okay, superior firepower brings quiet. Cooperation, okay, brings peace. And that is what it is very long overdue time people start dealing with. For the religious leaders out there that are going, this is my religion, this is the only one, button your lip and realize one little detail. If God created everything, then he also created every one of the religions out there. Okay, you are all created equal. It's that simple. Now, I use the term God for a number of reasons. One, I was raised in a Christian church, in a Christian family. Two, I'm lazy. God is only 3 letters. It's a lot easier than all the others. Okay, as far as the number of letters goes, it's the shortest form that I've run into. Okay, it's widely recognized. However, it's a matter of terminology. Okay, the reality is, if you're being taught, number one, believe in a higher power, but fear the daylights out of it. Absolutely fear this higher power because it's vindictive, it's vengeful. Those are human traits. If a spiritual entity is really that vindictive and that vengeful, fearing it isn't going to do you any good, because if it decides to wipe you out, you're gone and you didn't know about it in the first place. It is time to start realizing that regardless of what walk of life you're in, regardless of what your income bracket is, you're of no more value to this world than somebody that doesn't have any money. Okay, your income does not make one iota of difference towards the value of your soul. It doesn't make one iota of difference what religion you are, what gender, what financial standing you're in. Doesn't matter what your orientation. Every individual is of identical worth. Now, do understand, I am talking about spiritual worth. Monetarily speaking, people vary in value. Okay. And I don't even begin to try and understand how people can modify the value of one country's dollar to another. I mean, in all fairness, if you think about it, when we start talking about a one world government, we're looking at a couple of major factors. Okay, we're talking about not a government that is a dictatorship. Dictatorships on the whole fail. Now, there is such a thing as a benevolent dictator. Okay, and they are almost completely unheard of. But when we talk about one world, we are not talking about a dictator. We are talking about everybody's living on the same world, the dollar, okay, and I mean, we are talking about something that has taken literally hundreds and many times thousands of years to develop these habits. So we are not talking about changing things overnight. Bad news. The change you're responsible for. Okay, you all have freedom of choice. You have free will. You have the choice to buy into the idea that other people are worth more than you, to put other people on a pedestal if you so desire. Okay, I used to worry about the whole idea of being put on a pedestal, and I fought it tooth and nail. But thanks to the people on Spaced Out Radio for encouraging me to start doing a video, I came to the conclusion that it's time for me to step out of the darkness, step into the light and go, okay, there is a message here. And the message that I have returned to bring to you is very simple. Every single one of you is of equal value. You all have the power to change the world. Right in the palm of your hand, it's right there. It's just up to you to get up and do something with it. Okay, now, everything I'm talking about that I'm doing, all that I'm doing, you can do the same thing and you can do more of it. This is not a question of me being something special. This is a question of me simply going, I'm tired of my life the way it is, and I'm tired of watching the amount of negativity tear this world apart. Okay, now I don't watch the news, and like I mentioned the last couple of days, I used to think, before the internet came out, I used to think that the major media people were the problem. Because I kept getting told that by both the population and the major media, the big newspaper and television companies were the ones responsible. Because when I asked why all this garbage was being put out, everybody was telling me, well, and especially the major media, they were going, well, that's what the population wants. And I'm thinking, 95% of the people out there, 90 to 95% of you, fall under the category of being really nice people, really decent people with a good head on your shoulders, trying to do decent things. Okay, and yet, most of what gets reported in the news and on the newspapers, radios, TV, whatever, was always coming out with 90% of it being the negative. And I thought, that can't be right. It's got to be them trying to manipulate things. And then the most amazing and depressing thing happened at the same time. The internet evolved. And people across the globe had the opportunity to state their own opinions. And what did I find? You people who are doing the posting of this information, not the major media, but the individuals, are posting 90% derogatory, violent, argumentative, hurtful things on the internet. Net result is I looked at it and went, well, apparently the major media is not the problem. The population is the problem. And it's time people pull their head out of the sand and really realize if you're going to post negative stuff, number one, the people that are doing the negative stuff are getting exactly the recognition they're aiming for. Okay, and the other thing is, and this was proven by researchers a long time ago, Whatever shows up on the front page of the paper or on the front page of your Facebook, whatever gets posted, that's what tends to get gets replicated. By the way, this is a live recording, meaning when I get done, I don't go back and edit any of it. So that neat little glitch, you're going to end up seeing that as well. Okay, that's the way I've always been. I do not see the point. You know, when I first got into the psychic industry, which is where I also work, people kept saying, oh, you got to pick a different name. And I'm like, no, you don't. You know, in all fairness, I did for a little while when I was on the road. I went by the handle The Celestial Prophet. And the reason I went by that was because I kept getting told, you got to pick a name. Well, I never actually picked it. But a number of the psychics I was working with dropped it on my lap and went, here, you read pretty much everything available. You know, all the way from astrology right down to numerology and gem work. Right. So, we'll just put that name on you. So I ran with it for a while. But the reality is I've always seen myself as a spiritual guide. And the tools I'm offering you right now are exactly the same tools that I personally use. Okay, that I have personally used to change my life from where it was to where it's going to what I desire it to be. Now, am I done with the change? Not even remotely at this point. Well, I guess I use the term remotely. It is remote. But I've now gotten into the, if you will, comfort zone of going, if I don't get a video done once a day, I feel like something is missed, that I've missed something. I think I might want to slow my speaking down because I keep tripping over it. Okay, now, I'm not on a schedule. I don't have things organized to the point that I'm live streaming. But then, in all fairness, as was pointed out to me today, live streaming requires being able to read the comments that are coming in. And frankly, I just don't have the reading speed to do that. Not yet. Still working on it, and it may come in time. But I keep these to a half hour long, so give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and share the daylights out of it. At the bottom of this video, you'll find a list of contact points. If you've got a question for me, absolutely drop me a line, ask the question, and I do my best to answer them. Okay, as quickly as I can. That doesn't always work as well as I'd like, but I will do my best. If you've got something you would like that other people are thinking about, the odds are I'll end up doing a video or covering it at some point anyway. Okay, but check back over the prior videos. Okay, you will also find listed under this video, you'll find a list of different publications I've already got in print. Now, I'm going to cut this off here, and I'm going to get on with the rest of my night. But until then, until tomorrow when we talk again, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.